Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. I have got 10 rustic country Christmas projects for you. Sit back and enjoy. This thing has been sitting in my garage forever, that lantern. So basically it's free. And I don't even remember where I got it. I actually think I got it to use. So we are looking at Candy Cane Cottage again. We used that before with our tray. And I'm picking out some pieces I can use on that. I really want to use that Santa, but I realize I'm going to have to cut off like half of his legs. Then I thought about the tree, but I want something to put on both sides. So I picked two things. And by the way, those little lanterns, they come apart really easy. So I think when you guys see this, you're going to be running to go buy them. They sell them all over. I think you could even get them online. So I put that transfer on there. Of course, you do need to burnish it really well. I'm not going to seal the glass, so I always make sure it's burnished really, really well. And that thing's rolling all over, so I finally get smart and get a can and put that down. And then I picked this little truck to go on the other side. The colors in this just went well with that green. I was like, okay, I didn't have to do anything. And I'm sorry for my head being in all these shots. This is the worst video. But anyway, guys, like I said, I'm in a hurry. I don't know. I was in such a hurry, I didn't film half of it. So I'm just going over it and getting it. If you do have like a curved area, just work slowly and you will get it down. It does work. So now I'm using Pentart patina. See, this is what I didn't show you on that frame. There's another set of Pentart patina. I'll put that in the description box that has that turquoise and stuff. And that's what I used on the frame. So this, I'm putting my rust effects. You guys know I had to do that, right? After I cleaned this up, it was just too pretty. It was too perfect. So I'm taking this rust effect, and it has a brown, and it has kind of an orangey color, and then it has a mustard color, and it has a texture to it. But honestly, you guys, you could do all of this with just paint and a little salt wash, or baking soda kind of blends a little bit too much, and actually salt wash does a little bit too. But all you need is sand. Sand would work, and you can do the same thing. So I'm going to go all over this and put a little bit of rust here and there, because I like rust. I don't know what to tell you. And it sells. Rust sells. Okay. So I'm going to put rust in different places, and I just use the best tool in the world, the one God gave you, and it works the best. And I kind of blend the colors together. I think it looks more realistic that way. And I try and go like in like the joints and things like that, because to me that's where it would be. And so I pretty much do that all over. I do let it dry and spray it with a clear acrylic. And now what you see me doing is I've got this bottle brush tree that I took the bottom wood piece off, and I am actually going to glue this in the middle of that lantern. I pulled out the wick. There's like a little wick that goes in the middle of it, and I pulled that out so I had room. There's a hole in there. And I just glue this bottle brush tree in the middle of the lantern. And it fits perfectly in there. And I'm trying not to put too much glue in there. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm taking this transfer sheet, and I'm using it. And you cannot see what I'm doing, and I apologize. But I really couldn't turn it sideways, because then I couldn't do it. So I'm putting glue, hot glue, all the way around my tree, and I'm using that transfer sheet to keep the glue from dripping, because there's like little holes around the lantern where I'm putting the glue, and I don't want it to drip onto the bottom portion there. If it did, not the end of the world. It's metal, you can take it off, but watch what I think you can see a little bit better here. So I'm putting the glue there, and then while it's wet, I'm taking the snow that I got from the Dollar Tree and putting it all around. So after I do that, I go ahead and I put the glass back in. We basically made a lantern snow globe. Yep. I thought about this later. You know what? You could put lights in this. That would be so cool, right? So now what I did is I have this uh, burlap ribbon, and I bought this at Walmart like 3 or 4 years ago, and I was so dumb. I bought like 2 rolls, and I loved it. And of course, I went back. I thought, oh, I should have bought more. I went back. Of course, you could never get it again. So I don't know. I have never seen it again. But anyway, I'm going to take this and make a very, very simple bow. And I'm going to add these little picks. And I'm using this white wired berries that I got. Again, I bought these on 4th of July. They had red, white, and blue. And I bought a few blue, but I bought a ton of white. And I bought a ton of the red because I thought, hey, Christmas. Because at Christmas, you're not going to be able to find it. And I go ahead and glue that in there. And I have these rusty bells. And I did put a little white paint on my hands. And I put a little white paint on all of the little picks because I like that little look. And then I put a rusty bell on the other side. This is on top of it because I want it to look good on top. I just basically put the bow sitting on top. I bought these, some of them are antique and some of them are vintage baby shoes at different places. And I'm going to be putting bottle brush trees in them. Here what I've done is I've went ahead and took this one shoe. It has buttons down the side. And I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it. I've cut up some vintage or antique laces and crocheted things. And I'm just kind of playing with it just to figure out what I'm going to put where. First I think, well, maybe I can put that little round thing in there. And I'm trying really hard not to add a lot of glue or anything to this or to permanently damage these antiques. And I do that with almost all the projects that I'm doing so that you could, especially if they're antique, if you could take the stuff out and redecorate or, not use it for Christmas if you wanted to. Anyway, so what I do is I just put foam in them. And this is a different one. And I'm just going to cut the foam. And I put a little bit of brown, the wrapping paper that you get from packages in the bottom to fill in the shoe. And then I'll put a little foam because those little bases on the trees, most of them won't fit inside the shoe. So you have to cut those off. And I try and leave everything original. Like this one has laces, and I want to leave those laces on. I mean, I could put a ribbon or something in there, but I really am trying to keep them, you know, the way that they are and not add a lot of glue. I didn't put any glue in the bottom when I put the foam or anything in. And now I'm trying some more crocheted pieces that I have. And, just a few little doilies or a little bit of lace here and there. It doesn't take much to do these projects. I mean, I don't even think, I just use little pieces of things that I already had. And when I put the glue in, like I glued the lace to the foam, and I didn't touch the shoe with it. So that helps. And then I used a lot of wire. I have this rusty wire that I bought. You can buy it on Amazon. You can also get it on Factory Direct Crafts if you look there. And anyway, so I put the glue in there. And then, of course, I had to cut the tree off of the little base. And then you have that little pokey part of it that you stick in there. So I'm going to put that in there and kind of get it all situated the way I want it. And I just think the vintage or antique or whatever kind of lace you have or crocheted looks really good with these old pieces like that. So I'm going to kind of shove that in there. And I do put glue in there with it. I glue the tree to the foam, but it's not glued into the tree isn't glued into the tree. And now I'm taking some of that rusty wire, and I'm just putting a little pick that I bought a bunch of these off of Amazon. And now here's one that's really, really old. And it's kind of damaged, but I like the old patina of it. And the thing is, on this one, it doesn't have any laces on it. It looks like it's like, a little boot type thing. And what I'm going to do, you don't see me do it because I do this a lot. I take things toward me when I'm doing a video and I don't realize it, so it's off camera. But I took some little pickberries that I had bought at Dollar Tree, I believe, during 4th of July. You'll see me use it a lot in this video. And I tie the shoe closed with the pickberries. So I put some of that brown paper in the bottom, and then I put the foam in. And then I'm going to just go ahead and add my tree. And I put the tree in, and then I take it out, and then I put the glue on because, again, I'm trying not to glue the shoe. I'm just trying to, figure out which one I want in there before I, put any glue in. And I really do try hard not to get a lot of glue. And if there is a little bit of glue on some of these items, you could always take a heat gun and melt it and get it off. But I'm trying not to put a ton. So anyway, I did the pickberries to close the shoe. And now I'm trying to find some lace to put around it. And I do that. I find some and I put it in there. And after that, I just pretty much go and look for some ribbon that I can put on there. And I find this little red ribbon that I have. And I cut it in half because it was a little bit too wide. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on there and just kind of tie just a very simple bow. Not too much because it's a little tiny shoe and you don't want to overwhelm it. But anyway, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to add another pick to the front of this as well. And the whole thing on these shoes is just making sure that you don't overwhelm the shoe. And I don't know, I might have on this one because they're tiny little shoes. So that one is done, and now I'm going to move on to another one. So I have one that has a little bit of wear on it, but I decided to leave it the way it is. This is just, this one I wouldn't say is an antique. It's probably vintage. It's probably the kind that I wore when I was a baby. Um, I would say it's probably more in the retro era. So anyway, I'm going to take these and I'm going to decorate them. And again, I'm going to go ahead and put the brown paper in anywhere I need to fill it. And I'm going to put the little, just the foam. This is just from Dollar Tree or wherever. Now the tree that I'm going to put in this one's a little bit bigger. And then I decide I have these beads. These are glass beads. And they're kind of shiny. And I've got some pearls that are different colors, pearl beads. And I'm going to just glue those in this tree just to decorate the tree a little bit. And on a lot of these, I don't do that much decorating to the vessel. I decorate the tree. And so I leave these laces on. Of course, you could take them out, put ribbons or something in it. But I have this little red ribbon. I'm going to put that on. And I'm going to try not to, again, glue it to the tree. To the shoe. I'd prefer just to go ahead and put some, a wire or something around it. Or here I am, I'm just tucking it in the shoelace. And now I'm going to put I'll put the little velvet ribbon, I'll just glue it right onto the pick and then tuck it in. And then I'm not gluing it to the shoe. And I found some little kind of rhinestone buttons to glue on the front. Anyway, I have these trays that you can easily get at the Dollar Tree. I see them all the time. And I make little risers out of these. I buy these little feet off of Amazon, and they're fairly inexpensive. You could also just do these trays without making them a riser, but I think the riser just kind of makes them a little different and elevates them a little bit as far as, as a project. So I'm using, it's basically a super glue that comes with a spray that I love using, because what it does is it activates that glue and it dries like immediately. So I'm putting my feet on with that, and I can just get straight into the project. I don't have to wait for it to dry like E6000 or even some of your other super glues that you have. You have to give it some time to dry. And I'm impatient. We've already established that. So I'm using that same Paint Couture 2-in-1 primer. You could definitely have sprayed this. Like I said, it's kind of raining outside today, so I am not going to go outside to do this. And sometimes I just like painting things. I don't know. I enjoy it. So I'm going to go over this whole thing with 2 coats of this primer. And then after that, I am using raw silk. And that is a fusion paint. I love this color, this creamy white color. To me, it's one of my favorites. And I love the fusion, how it adheres and it goes on so smooth. And again, it has a primer and top coat built in. So this is going to make this tray very durable. And not only that, we're going to even put another top coat on later. So Anyway, I'm going to go over this with 2 coats, just because it's not really even 2 coats. I would say 1.5, because we've already put the primer down. You use less paint. And now I'm going to go ahead, and I've got this beautiful decoupage paper. Then again, I do carry this. I don't have a lot of this one, but I've ordered some more. So if you go look and I've run out, the snow, I'm getting it any day, so I'll be popping it back in there. But anyway, this is beautiful. And I go ahead and do my little water around it and tearing it. You could definitely cut it if you want it that way. I like the torn look because it kind of meshes into the project a little better to me. And I love doing that on rice paper because it has that wonderful frayed effect to it. So it looks a little bit more organic. So I'm just going to take my Paint Couture decoupage medium, and I'm just going to put that down on my tray. And then I will put some down and put it down, and then I use a plastic baggie with my hand to go over it. That's one thing that you want to be careful when you're using rice paper. You can overwork it by rubbing it too much, especially if you have any water on it or a decoupage medium. Anything that's wet, if you over rub it, you can basically loosen the fibers and to where it'll just kind of dissolve. So you want to be really careful. I mean, you don't have to be really careful. I don't want to make it sound like that, because rice paper actually, to me, is the easiest decoupage medium to use, but you want to be careful not to overwork it. That's one thing that you can do. And that's one reason why I use a plastic baggie a lot when I go over it, is that it's not as coarse as your hand is. It's smooth, and you don't you have less of a risk of overworking it when you use the baggie to go over it. So I do that. I put my decoupage medium on top. What I love about this project is, do you see how that paper just kind of blends right into the tray? You can't even really see the ends on it. So it really is a pretty look. So I just go over it and make sure I'm making good contact. So now I'm going to take a little bit of this satin top coat by Paint Couture, and I'm mixing it, and I'll let that dry completely after. As you can see, I am wiping back a lot. It's just going to give this just a little bit of a vintage look. And make sure you do the bottom so it all matches. You can kind of see here how much I wipe back on this. I wipe back quite a bit of it. So now all I'm doing is taking some antique gold rub-and buff, and I'm just putting a little on my finger, and I'm going around the raised edges of these little trays just to kind of French country it up a little bit. I like that look. You could skip that completely, or you could even distress it and have the silver show through. But I'm going to do that all the way around the edge. So now on this is a little shoe. It's not a real antique. I got it at the same place I got the spool from. And it's supposed to be, the little shoe thing that you put your, inside your shoes, and it's supposed to look like an antique. And I bought one of those little bow maker things, and I don't know, the jury's still out. I think it may be just as easy to do it myself without it, but I don't know. I got to use it a few more times. But anyway, I put a piece of wire in there, and then I put my little pieces of material. I'm just going to make a little messy bow. you take that little thing and press down on it. And I used wire in there to make my messy bow. And then I took that other piece of material that I had cut and to make it smaller, and I put a double little bow on there in front of it. I tied this around the shoe, and I put a tiny little dot of glue to kind of keep it in place, but I didn't put a lot. And I'm kind of fluffing my little bow up. There's lace and all kinds of stuff in there. And of course, I'm going to put something rusty on this. I have all this rusty stuff I bought. I got to use it. And people like it. So I put this little rusty bell on the front of it. And go ahead and get everything looking the way I want it to. And of course, I wired that bell on to the bow. I'm trying not to use too much hot glue, and I trim up the edges there. And of course, I use those pickberries that I got 4th of July at the Dollar Tree on my tree. And then of course, I'm going to have to put a rusty star. I put a snowflake on this one. I'm pretty sure. I think I put a snowflake. I had some rusty snowflakes, and I used those. And this is one of those things I was having a hard time getting it to stick in, or I put some foam in. And now I have this spool. This is, I guess, what they used to have yarn on. And I'm going to go ahead and decorate it. But first, I want to decorate the tree. And I have these bells, these rusty bells. I know my hands look a mess, guys, but, hey. I am going to take this rusty wire, and I'm going to string these little rusty bells so that I can string this around my tree. So I'm going to do that about every couple, maybe inch and a half or so. I just take the bell and then I twist it so it doesn't move. And then I go up another inch and a half and I twist it. And that's how I'm going to make my little, garland that's just going to go around the tree. So just an idea of what you can do with these. And then I wrap that around my tree along with the pickberries. And of course I have to put a rusty star on the top or a bell or something. Because, I got to use all this rusty stuff. And people like it. So it sells. And on these stars, I always put a little bit of glue, but I wire it with, again, that rusty ribbon or wire. So now I'm going to take that spool, and this is really simple. I've got this ribbon that says Merry Christmas. I'm going to put that on with the pick. This is using some fence panels that we recently tore down our fence in our backyard and replaced it. And I would not let my husband throw any of those boards away, although he did throw half of them away because he would not let me keep them all. Anyway, what I'm doing is I am gluing these two pieces together because I need a wider piece. And I'm using my Tite Bond glue to put these together. And I am also going to take some popsicle sticks to go crossways across the back to hold these together. This is not a utilitarian piece, so really don't need to worry about, you know, the strength of it. It's just going to be hanging on a wall. But if you were using this as a tray or something, you possibly would want to clamp these down, possibly shoot some nails in there or something, but this is just going to be hanging on a wall. So anyway, I put those on there, and of course I let them dry before we move on to our next step. I do paint them, the popsicle sticks, with the pine cone from Paint Couture, just so later on I'm going to be painting over the back of this, and I like the back of my pieces to look good when I do them. So anyway, that's what I do. So now what I'm doing is I am using the casting from the mold Old Christmas Tree. This is a retired mold from IOD. I do have some on my website, but I did have to purchase them retail, and the price does reflect that, guys. It's not the wholesale price that I would normally be able to get things from. But if you want them, I have them, and I also offer castings if you would like to purchase just the casting, because the price for the actual mold is quite expensive. And now what I'm doing is I have painted over this with several colors, and I have used Fusion Bayberry, Conservatory, and Carriage House. And I'm just kind of mixing the different greens because I want it to look like a tree, a real tree that has different colors. And I'm also going to be mixing some more of that window pane that we used earlier from Sweet Pickins. Again, it's a powdered paint, 50% powder to water. And you're supposed to let it sit for a while. I'm not in this case because I want it kind of watery. And I'm going to lightly go over all of this casting to make it kind of look like snow. That's the kind of look that I'm wanting, a wintry look. And so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going over our fence pieces that we had glued together. And I'm kind of dry brushing this all over. I'm not wanting total coverage, but I do want to change the color. I don't want it to be that dark gray. I'm just adding the white to it. And of course you would do this to taste. I mean, whatever you want to do, you could leave them the color that it is. But anyway, that's what I do. And I also do the back as well. So now I'm going to just be attaching the casting, and I'm heating it up with my heat gun because this is a very thin casting, which is good because it makes it, you know, less heavy, but it is a little bit warped, and when I heat it up with my heat gun, I can kind of flatten it out and even contour it to these boards, because of course they're not perfect either. And of course I'm putting my Tite Bond glue, and I put way too much glue on there, but I'm going to take it off. But I'm going to make sure that I have plenty of glue on there, and I also use hot glue with this for a temporary bond. And on this piece, when I'm all done with it, I do set something heavy on top of it and let it sit overnight so that it make sure that the Tite Bond glue bonds perfectly. But I do put some dollops of glue, and partly too is that glue is going to level this out if it's crooked a little bit, because I put the boards together, and there's enough Tite Bond on there that it'll be a combination of both, really. And trust me, this isn't moving. The next day I came, it's not moving. The boards aren't coming apart, and this isn't moving. So I go back in and I make sure I get any extra glue that seeps out off of here, and then we just kind of move on to the next part, which is kind of going over the back with that same window pane. I put a rusty star on top. Again, I think I might have bought those on Amazon, but I know I got some on Factory Direct. I also got these wonderful little jingle bells, rusty jingle bells there. So I put a little white on there also because I wanted to make it look a little snowy. And now I'm just taking some different fabric strips. Some of these are Jubilee, some are not, some are just some other scraps that I had. I think I bought a roll of Jubilee, a jelly roll. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking some of my rusty wire on my little, I guess it's called a bow dazzler. And you put the one wire across. I like to use wire on my bows because you can tie them tight. And I'm just taking little strips of fabric haphazardly and putting them in there. I'm going to be making a messy bow with this. And so I just put them in, trying to alternate the colors. I do have a little bit of ribbon in there also, a little bit of just some cloth that I ripped up. And you put that in there, and then you take this little thing and you press it down. And then you pull up both pieces, and then you twist it tight. And I twisted a few more times. And then I trimmed off the edges to get them to where I wanted. I had this rusty snowflake, and I was thinking about putting that in front. And I think that would have looked good also. But I decided to go with my original idea of using the little jingle bells. This isn't really supposed to be Christmas so much as just winter. But either way, you could have done both. And now I'm just kind of positioning those bells where I want them, the way I want them, and getting the bow where I want it. And I will just hot glue that on there. And that is it. That is his project. It's not a bowl. It's like just a plate or a tray that I got at my favorite thrift store when it was 75% off. I paid literally less than $2 for this. And as you can see there, guys, I have, I know you people cannot get this. Well, you can, be willing to pay enough. This is the candy cane cottage, part of it. And that's what I'm going to be using. And all I'm doing here is I'm gluing on my favorite little feet. These are knobs. These are meant to be knobs, wood knobs. And I love using these. So I am just taking my super glue from the Dollar Tree and my hot glue, and I put those on, and it'll completely dry in about an hour. And then I take the transfer from Candy Cane Cottage, and I'm going to put that down over the middle of this because I like the kind of rustic look that it has, because I'm not going to be changing. This actually is in pretty good shape, this wood. So I thought, well, I did clean it with alcohol and make sure that I got off like any grease or anything like that and made sure it was clean. And now I'm just going to go over the whole thing. And it was pretty easy. I will say when you have words, any type of words or lettering, you do have to work a little bit harder. Now you're going to see when I pull this off, the S got messed up. And I couldn't put it back on because it was kind of bunched up. But there is a fix to that, guys. There's always a fix. I am going to take a very fine brush, and you can't see me do it, but I go ahead and I just fixed the S, and I just took a paint that was close to it. It was Cranberry by Fusion, and I just painted an S on there, and you can't even tell. So now what I did is I went ahead, those feet were a little bit lighter color, so I took my brown wax from Dixie Belle and I went over it to make sure I got them the same color. And now what I did is I took a little of that brown wax and then some clear wax and mixed it together, and I went over the whole thing because you do need to seal your transfer. And that's it, guys. So I'm going to take these wood rounds, and I've done absolutely nothing to them. And okay, this one is like this is a unicorn pretty much. This is Holly Glen, which is probably the hardest to find. But like I said, I do have these. I could have sold this for quite a bit of money. But I love, love, love these little creatures, and I hope IOD comes out with some like this. And I'm not trying to make everybody feel bad by using stuff that you can't get or, without spending an arm and a leg. But I want to use them, and they're so pretty. And also, you guys, you can use napkins. You can use things that you've downloaded, anything. But the moral of the story is when they come out with their limited release, grab it and get extra if you love it. I wished I'd have bought about 3 of these, really. So anyway, I am just going to take these little critters and I'm going to just cut them to fit on there. They just lend themselves to this rustic, natural look. This is going to be just some Christmas ornaments. They already have the hole drilled in them and everything. I think they're about 3 inches. You can get these at Hobby Lobby. I think even the Dollar Tree has some. I've never seen them, but I've seen other people that said they got them from there. And this stuff rubs off. These transfers go on here super easy. I was rubbing super hard for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And yeah, so there you go. So all I'm doing is picking off the little edges. And I'm going to do that to all of them. Super, super easy. And anyway, I do this to all 5 of them. And this is one of the easiest crafts ever, and I think it turns out amazing. So now what I'm doing is I just have some Dollar Tree wood beads that are already painted white. So I am just going to use Bayberry by Fusion, and I like that kind of green. It's a very kind of woodsy green, and I'm going to go ahead and just um, put this. I kind of do a combination of putting paint in this little plastic thing, and then also with my brush, so on a skewer. So that I just did that because I kind of wanted to show you that you could do it both ways, and to kind of make sure I got them all done. And I did that on this other one. That one I used cranberry. I like that kind of maroonish color. That's kind of the color of red that is in these little things. Also, too, guys, I stamped on the back of all of these, and I did not film that, so I don't show you that. But I had some Christmas stamps, IOD again. But I stamped on the back of all of these wood pieces, but I don't show you that in the video, so I don't show you later. But that's what I did on the other side. I just put a Christmas stamp, and anyway, for some reason I didn't film that either, and I thought I did. So I don't know what's going on, guys. So now all I'm doing is taking some twine that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm using the little skewer to push it through the little holes, and I'm going to loop it through, and then loop both pieces through, and then kind of put them on and put my beads on, and that's it. Website, the castings, and I think I have a few of the molds that I bought retail out there, so you can check it out what's still available if you're interested in purchasing either the castings or the molds. Anyway, you can't see them real well simply because some of them were cast with clear resin, but I'm going to be putting these castings on this blank. I love their wood blanks from IOD simply because of the fact that they work so well with if you want to put castings or something on them, because you have enough of a rim around it that you can do that, and it works great with decoupage. So I'm just going to glue these on. So I have part of the Oh Christmas Tree, and then I forgot what you call the snowflake mold, but anyway, I'm putting all those on with Type Bond Quick and Thick, and then I'm going to be going over them after it dries. And I'm going to be using Paint Couture's Abyss. It's a really dark blue color. And I'm going to go over the whole thing with that. It is a chalk paint. And so we're just going to be putting that on with a stippling motion because I do want some texture. I did not add salt wash to this. A lot of times I will add salt wash. But I really did not want to take the chance of distorting the images on the snowflakes because they are so detailed. So I thought I would just kind of see what it looked like with just the paint. And I think, to add enough texture in the background. And I was really happy with how it turned out. So I didn't add salt wash, but a lot of times I will put salt wash on and not hit the actual castings with it, just to add some texture. So I made sure I went over the back, and after everything was dry, I went ahead and went over the middle portion where we're going to put our decoupage paper, just with some Fusion I believe, I don't remember, raw silk. That's what I used. Anyway, I just went over the middle portion with raw silk and tried to go as neatly as I could. It doesn't matter if it's perfect because you're going to be covering it with decoupage paper. And I just did one coat over the middle and let that dry. Okay, so now I'm taking my piece of decoupage paper and I'm going over it with my water and my brush just to get that white portion off of there. I don't want that on uh, inside. I want to kind of have that frayed edge. And there will be a background of white behind it, but I'm not worried about that because we're going to antique the edges later, and so what'll happen is they will all mesh together. So now I'm going over the white portion that I had painted earlier with my decoupage medium by Paint Couture, and I'm going to just go over all of it to stick down my rice paper, and it's just lays right down. It's not a huge piece, so I'm not worried about too many wrinkles, and as I said, you'll see that it doesn't fit in there perfectly and you're going to have some white edge around it, but that's okay because later on we're going to add some antiquing glaze and it's going to just kind of mesh it all together. So after I lay that down, I go ahead and use a plastic baggie on my hand and I rub it down. I'm very careful on rice paper. You don't want to overwork it with your hands or with a wet liquid because it can dissolve the fibers in it. It's very strong. It's stronger than tissue paper or napkin, but it's very fibrous, so you have to be careful. So now what I'm doing is I'm going over my piece with some clear wax because we're going to be adding a white wax over this clear wax. And by adding a clear wax, anytime you're adding a colored wax on it, it gives you more movement. It allows you to kind of move around that wax more and it wipe off more. So now I'm taking Paint Couture's their white wax. I forgot what it's called, but I love their waxes. They are so, I don't know, they're just kind of fluffy and easy to work with. Just really, really easy to work with. Anyway, so I'm going over the whole thing with the white wax and then I'm going to wipe back a lot of it. I want to make sure that that wax gets in all the little nooks and crannies of all the detail. That's the main thing I want to do, and I'll go over the back. And now I'm taking that raw silk that I used earlier. Actually, no, I used Metallic Pearl by Fusion. It has kind of a metallic look to it. And I'm dry brushing over my entire piece with the metallic pearl. And I like to use a fan brush when I'm doing any kind of dry brushing. A lot of times I have more control. And then after I do that, I am taking some silver rub and buff. And I'm going to go over all of my castings again. You have the white in the background and then the metallic. And I'm wanting this to have like a snowy scene to it. So I'm taking that metallic rub and buff and I'm just going over all of those portions with it with my finger. I find that works the best. I have more control. So now what I'm doing is I'm going over the piece with my crackle step 1. You can totally omit all of this portion if you like it the way it is right to it. But I'm going over the whole thing and I'm doing that kind of cross hatch motion, not long strokes, but just small strokes to give me a very small crackled look. And I go over the whole thing with step 1, let that dry for about a half hour until it's tacky, and then I will go over it with part 2. So now I'm doing part 2 after part 1 is dried tacky. Again, I'm doing that same kind of motion. It really does make a difference in the type of cracks that you get with it. And the important thing with the part 2 is to make sure it's completely dry or it'll be really kind of gummy and cause some problems. So I really give it a good hour, sometimes 2 hours to be completely dry. That's the key to using this. And I know I'm using it a lot in this video, but I really love the look that it gives to a piece. It really makes it look old and, uh, cracked and like it's a painted piece because it gives it texture too. So here I am. I'm using my Van Dyke Brown again to go over this piece. And do you see where I'm going over there on the sides there? That is what's going to make all of that other portion that was white blend in with the rest of it. That's why I wasn't too worried about, uh, you know, blending it in at that time. So I go over the whole piece with this. I let it set for about a minute, and then I wind up wiping off a good portion of it. Now, if you don't like it grunged up this much, Paint Couture has a lot of different colors. You can go with a lot lighter color if you want on your glaze, but I wipe back quite a bit of it. I like sometimes using the darker color because it gets in all the cracks. And then again, it depends on what you're trying to get. And I do make sure that I keep a little bit more of the antiquing in the corners where it would normally be. So after I do that, I decide that I want a little bit of that glaze on the sides to kind of make it look like it goes together. It just seemed like it didn't have the same look after I just did the picture portion. So I'm going to go over it with that same Van Dyke Brown, and it's going to get in all of those little nooks and crannies. And you're still going to see the white, but it's going to diminish it a little bit. And I'm still going to wipe back a lot of it. I know it looks kind of scary at this point, but because we have our waxes and glazes already on it, we can wipe back quite a bit of it. So don't be afraid to do that after you've added a wax down or a glaze or something or a top coat. So now that I've done all that, I want to go ahead and bring back some of the lighter colors. So I'm going to take the antiquing wax rub and buff, and I'm going to go over the top portions of this again, just highlighting it a little bit, just to bring back some of that lighter color. And of course, if you wanted to, you could actually dry brush over this again. I didn't. I like the look of it. So it really just depends on what you like. And now the last thing I do is I go over this with just some polyacrylic to make it a little bit more glossy. Filling the back of it with foam, and it fits in there perfectly. And I've got this tree. I'm pretty sure I got it at Hobby Lobby. It's one of their bigger ones, 50%. I think it was less than $3. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put the foam in. I glued it to the bottom, put some hot glue, and now what I'm doing is I'm putting the white paper on top. So obviously, I need to disguise the foam, and I'm gluing it down in certain spots. And then I made up some more of that crust with the paint so I can make some more snow. And I'm covering the back, not the entire thing where the tree's going to go. You're not going to. Basically everywhere but a tiny spot in the middle. So I'm going to put some of this snow all over. So now I'm going to go ahead and glue my tree in, and I put a lot of glue on the bottom, and then anywhere that the tree was touching, where the foam is, where the truck is, I put a ton of glue on it. And now what I'm doing is I'm shoveling that what do you call it? The sheer frost glitter. I'm basically just shoveling in there. And I have a piece of paper, you know, and I'm going to dump out the extra and obviously put it back in the jar, just like you do with any other glitter. But I'm putting it anywhere that I put the snow, so it sticks to the snow, and it does stick really well. You don't have to add any glue or anything like that. Now you do it while the that stuff is still wet. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some snow in some different spots all over the truck. So after I put all of my glitter on there, I decided I wanted to put a little wreath on the front of the truck. And this is basically just an ornament that I bought. I think I got it from the Dollar Tree. Anyway, I took the little red bow that was on it off because I didn't really like it. And now I'm going to go ahead and add the wreath to the front. I just hot glued it on, and now I'm going to add a little bit more snow to the front of the car because I think wouldn't it accumulate there? Probably. The wreath may be a little bit big, but I think it's a nice touch. And then of course I add the glitter to the front of it. And then I put my own little velvet bow that I think looks a little bit better on there. And then after that, this is the twine that you get from the Dollar Tree that has wire in it. It's a little bit thicker than, you know, your normal twine, because I wanted you to be able to see it. I mean, it's obviously not holding the tree on, but I guess kind of technically it is. Well, that's it for this video. If you happen to need any IOD, Fusion, Paint Couture, Pentart, Sweet Pickins Milk Paint, JRV, Roy Cycled Papers, or Decoupage Papers, you can get that on my website, rehatchdesigns.com. The link will be in the description. $50 free shipping and $9 flat rate shipping. Also, guys, I am still shooting for Wednesdays and Saturday videos. This went out a day late due to some technical issues, but I am still going to try and have a video out on Wednesday for you. So be looking for that. And I'll have a big announcement on Wednesday. So I will see you again soon. You take care. Bye-bye.